Hi everyone. In this video of Accelerated Chess Dragon, we're going to be looking at a game played by Eugenio Torre and Wesley So. This was played in the 2009 Dapitan Tournament in Dapitan City in the Philippines. And this game was actually played when Wesley So was just about 15 or 16 years old, and Eugenio Torre was almost 60 years old. So it's a very interesting cross-generational battle, we could say. And without further ado, let's see this game. Torre starts off by playing d4, and now we have knight f6 by Wesley. Knight f3, and now d5, c4, and c6. Knight c3, and now we have a6. So this is the soft defense. So c takes d5, and now c takes d5, the exchange variation. Bishop f4, Torre develops, knight c6, and now rook to c1. Just normal development, and Wesley does the same. Bishop f5, e3, rook c8, and now a3 and e6. So this position is completely symmetrical, and after bishop e2, bishop e7, it doesn't seem like there's actually going to be much action in this game. It looks like it's going to be a very slow, closed, and positional game, which is going to be very boring, and like most positional games, will end up in a draw. But that's not the case for this game, and you'll see how. We have castles, and now knight d2. So Torre brings his knight back. He's trying to put this knight on b3 after he pushes b4, and then maybe, just maybe, he could put the knight on the c5 square, and that knight would be a monster. It's an octopus knight, as many would call it. It's in the center, and it's looking at 8 very powerful squares. So knight a5, and knight a5 is attempting to do the same idea. Here we have knight to a2. A bit of a passive move, kind of allowing this b5 idea to come in, but Torre just wanted to reroute this knight as well. So knight a2, b5, and now rook takes c8. Exchanging a pair of rooks, and now b4. When this knight comes into c4, you kind of have a bit of a problem as white, because if you capture the knight, then you will simply give black a passed pawn. But if you don't capture the knight, then that knight is basically the strongest piece in white's territory, and if you can't get rid of it, then that's going to be a big problem. So we have queen c1, and now a5. Wesley is trying to break open the position somewhat, and he's trying to attack on the queen side. His plan is that if you play b takes a5, then he will just simply play the move bishop takes a3. And, well, if you go for a move like queen c3, then you could be met with just the simple bishop e7. This a5 pawn is a very good target, and if Wesley can get his hands on that, then that is just going to be great for him. So instead, we don't have a capture on a5, but instead Torre plays knight takes c4. And he gives Wesley a passed pawn. D takes c4. We have b takes a5, and now queen to a6. So getting ready to regain the pawn. And Torre could try to play a move like queen c3 and perhaps hold on to the pawn. But if he were to do something like this, then after Wesley plays a move like knight d5, this basically forces Torre to give up one of his a-pawns. If he plays the queen back to d2 to defend the a5 pawn, then he will lose the a3 pawn, and vice versa. If he does this, then queen takes a5. And essentially, Wesley will get both of the a-pawns, and he should be way advantageous with 2 connected passed pawns on the queen side. So we have knight to b4, attacking the queen, and now queen takes a5. So we can see here that Wesley is threatening to win a pawn with bishop takes b4, and then after a b4 to play queen takes b4. We have knight c6. This seems to be doing something good because, Torre is going to be able to give up his knight for this bishop, but there's one problem with that. It hangs yet another pawn. And after queen takes a3, knight takes e7 check, queen takes e7. Although Torre does have the bishop pair, it's hard to really understand why it's actually a good thing. I mean, the bishops are not really that well placed. Even if this bishop is transferred to f3 and it is staring at this entire diagonal, if you consider the fact that Wesley has essentially something similar to that, and the advantage of two connected passed pawns, then you'll start to understand why Wesley has the advantage and not Torre. So queen b2 was played by Torre, trying to get rid of both of the connected pawns, and now queen d7, just defending. And the main problem for Torre is that he cannot pile up on the b5 pawn. You can see that the bishop has no real good square to go to where it will attack the b5 pawn. But even worse is, where does the rook go? I mean, there is a possibility of a maneuver like rook to a1 followed by rook to a5, but what will that really do for Torre? And in fact, if he plays a move like rook a1, like in this position, then after knight d5, the plan of playing c3 and then b4 is too strong, and Torre will eventually lose to both of those connected pawns. So he actually just plays bishop f3, trying to activate his bishop. We have rook c8, threatening the move c3, which would just be devastating for Torre. Rook c1, and now bishop e4. The more exchanges that Wesley can get in will obviously favor him, because if he can exchange his bishop for that f3 bishop, and then use his superior knight against the f4 bishop, then surely enough he should have an advantage. Bishop e2, and now knight to d5. Not only threatening knight takes f4, but also threatening ideas like b4 and c3, because the knight guards the c3 and b4 square. Bishop g3, and now bishop d3. Yet again, the more exchanges that Wesley gets in, the better the position is for him. So we have bishop f3, and now c3. So Wesley is pushing his passed pawns. Queen b3, and now queen c6 by Wesley. Wesley is again trying to push his pawns, and an idea that you might see could be bishop c4, and then the continuation of b4. Basically, once the pawn starts getting into the opponent territory, then you know that something is definitely wrong. So bishop takes d5, and now e takes d5. We have an exchange of minor pieces, and now it's opposite colored bishops, but that honestly doesn't matter because the bishops are not the real important players in this game, it's the pawns. So we have queen a3. Torre is completely stuck and he doesn't know what to really play. And now we have rook a8, queen to e7. And you can definitely imagine Torre's situation here where he just is unable to do anything. I mean, he can't really stop the pawns from advancing, and he can't really get rid of either of the pawns. So this is just a huge predicament for him. We have c2. A plan with c2 is to play this move queen c3, and then queen d2. Of course, you want to try limiting the movements of your rook on the back rank, because if you do, move your rook a lot, then there's a chance that you are going to get back rank mated, if these pawns in front of your king aren't pushed. So we have h3. Torre gets a flight square for his king, and same for Wesley. Bishop f4. Again, hardly anything that Torre can do. And now we have queen c3. Attempting to play queen b2 and win the rook, but Torre just gives up another pawn, knowing that now all is lost. Torre gives up the pawn because he doesn't want the rook to be attacked by the queen. And with e4, he's defending the rook with his bishop on f4. So we have bishop takes e4, Wesley just snatches a pawn, king to h2, and now queen takes d4. So not only is Torre just down material, but the passed pawns are really doing him a lot of trouble. Queen b7, attacking the rook, but I encourage you to pause the video here and try finding out how Wesley just crushes Torre. Okay, so many people would mostly consider defending the rook on a8, but not Wesley. He just goes straight for the king's heart, and he plays queen takes f2. And after queen takes f2 was played, actually, Torre resigned the game. The main reason why this is completely crushing is because even if you capture the rook, and that too with check, it's not enough to save the game. Wesley will play, of course, the only legal move, which is king h7. And now there's a double threat on both the bishop on f4 and the pawn on g2. And it doesn't matter which one you guard, the other one is going to fall. If you defend the bishop, you'll lose to mate, so most likely you're going to play something like rook g1. But now Wesley will capture the bishop on f4 check, and after g3 is played, then he will lose to queen f2 check, and then you'd have to block, and there's queen takes g2 checkmate. Or after queen f4 check, you could play king h1, but just the simple queen g3 is enough to win. Threatening queen takes h3 mate, and if you try something like queen c8 to guard this, then there's just the simple f5, and well, not only are you threatening queen takes h3 mate, but also if the rook moves away, then queen takes g2 is just checkmate right there. So hence, after the move queen takes f2 was played by Wesley, Torre just resigned the game, and a very nice victory for only a 15-year-old Wesley So. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, please let me know in the comments section, and stay tuned for more chess.